Thank you for joining us on History FM Radio on liveparanormal.com and history.fm. From paranormal to the unexplained history, it all happens here. Looking to enhance your radio experience? Participate in live interactive chat 24/7 with our radio show hosts and other like-minded people on www.liveparanormal.com, the only interactive social chat room supported by full interactive media. Stop by now and join in on the fun.
Hi, everybody. It's Niki at ParaUnNormal, and now it's the 9 o'clock show, My Paranormal Experience. I was just on with Dawn and Lisa introducing their new show, Scanning the Frequencies, which will be at 8 o'clock, premiering on September 2nd. So be sure to check them out. Quick little plug for my ladies. But welcome to My Paranormal Experience. I'm going to go ahead and bring on the awesome Dave Spinks, my other host. Hello, other host, Dave.
Hey, Nikki, what's up?
Nothing much. What's happening, man? How you been today?
But same old, same old. I'm a video-making fool right now.
Well, I'm not as crazy as I was earlier. Isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, that's good.
Poor Dave. He caught me earlier, and I was in the middle of, like, an F-bomb fit. It was like bombs that were bagged up with F-bombs out of my mouth. It was pretty bad. And he just caught me right at that second where I was just going nuts. And his poor ear got bent for a minute or two before he was like, I'm going to let you get back to that now. So poor Dave. But so I'm glad everything's going good. Now, Would you like to introduce our guest who's patiently sitting on hold, who's awesome?
Yeah, tonight, guys, we have a wonderful guest. He's a great guy. And you guys are going to be surprised. He has been creating some awesome stuff for the paranormal field. His name is Anthony
Without
Sanchez.
further ado, Anthony
bring
Sanchez.
him on.
Let me bring him on.
Hi, guys.
Anthony.
Hi, guys. Thank you for having me. Hey.
Sure. Thank you for coming.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony, what's up, brother?
Mm-hmm. Hey, what's up, Dave?
You know it. So you've been very busy lately, huh?
Yeah, been doing a lot of work lately on GhostHunterApps.com. First of all, before we even go down, that road talking about the apps, I want to give a shout out to both you and Nikki and thank the two of you for being early beta testers of the apps and using them in real world situations. In your paranormal investigations, most recently on your Midwest tour, I cannot thank you enough because people don't realize how important it is to have beta users, beta testers of your software, because without beta testers, you just don't know what, the end user is going to encounter once you make them commercially available to everyone. So, we had a huge beta team. Dave, you were on it from the beginning, and Nikki, you were part of the live, action team, actually putting them to use. And, thank you guys. Really want to thank you because I have not received any reports of errors or anything like that, and it's just wonderful.
Well, thanks for allowing us to be part of that, Anthony. I mean, I really appreciate it,
It was so awesome, it blew me away. And it's easy to use. I don't think that, some of these pieces of equipment that I've managed to get my hands on, I think require, somebody a whole lot smarter than me to sit there and try to configure and everything. And apps are easy to use, and information you get from them is just blew me away. I mean, I was sitting there, looking words up onto my phone while we were getting them, and they were all relevant responses. And, it's just absolutely fantastic. So thank you for that, because that just made the experience even more so awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Listen, I got to tell you, Nikki, if you're talking about the Spirit Radar, I would download the latest version of the Spirit Radar because you no longer have to look up anything on your phone. You can just right-click on the word, and it'll take you right to Wikipedia, or it'll take you right to Google Translate if it's something, in another language. I got to tell you guys about this really cool story.
I have that at home now. I utilize
excellent.
the heck out of that.
Nice. I got to tell you about this really cool phone call that I received today. Tommy Hansen, who works for a group called Project Camelot, he lives in Oslo, Norway, and he told me that he was using the Spirit Radar, and well, he has been using the Spirit Radar. He was part of the original beta team with Dave. He's been using it for weeks, and he has the latest version. Today he told me he was getting words in Norwegian.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't doubt that.
And Dave, get this. Spirit Radar, the energy signatures on the radar, when, positioned, relative to where he is in the room, was jumping from lamp to lamp and to the fuse box on the wall. So he had 3 energy blips, and each one was exactly situated to, so if you were in the center, which is what the Spirit Radar does, by the way, it positions you in the center, and it takes a snapshot of energy signatures. Each one was positioned, and it actually said lamp in English, and then it said lamp in Norwegian.
Oh, wow.
And that
That's
makes sense
cool.
because these energy signatures, a lot of people that work in the paranormal know that these, a lot of the energy signatures that are, projected by, the spirit world tend to gravitate towards like electrical devices from time to time.
Yeah. Wow.
You know how when you're conducting a paranormal investigation, there's very dark energy in the house. Sometimes the lamps will flicker on, off and on, or the lights will flicker off and on. That's a sign. That is a sign that there's an energy disruption. There's a disruption in the surrounding energy field.
Yep, I agree.
I think we both
with
had that happen. Yep, and we both had that happen on time to time when you've got that. You can even feel the energy, but it's so nice to have that validation too. With the equipment.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And the lights.
So tell us what inspired you to create these new type of apps, Anthony.
Well, I've been a software engineer for over 20 years now. And I've always been interested in the paranormal. I think all of us who are in the paranormal as adults, we've all had an interest since we were kids. I've had personal experience since I was a kid. Most people know me through my work with my book, UFO Highway. I was on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie back in 2011. It was a very controversial show because a lot of people in the UFO alien community did not want me on the radio. And those are people that essentially have connections to the federal government and didn't want me speaking about this underground facility with aliens in northern New Mexico, in Dulce. So that's where most people know me from. But a lot of the people that have been following my research in the alien UFO community also know that I have played a big part in the paranormal as well. In 2012, I had a huge conference, the first of its kind ever, in Sacramento, California, which is 150 miles north of the Bay Area, called the UFO Paranormal Summit. I had the guys from Ghost Hunters International, the TV show, GHI. I had David Weatherly, who was the author of The Black-Eyed Kids. I had Bill Murphy from Fact or Fake Paranormal Files, and a host of individuals. And I also had Lyle Blackburn, who's the guy with who does the not Bigfoot, but the Boggy Creek, the monster. Yeah, Lyle Blackburn. So I had a huge paranormal event, and people were saying, "Why are you doing paranormal, Anthony?" Because you're a UFO aliens guy, and those people that didn't know me were asking that question. And a really controversial thing, a statement that I made at my own conference was that the alien UFO phenomena falls underneath the paranormal umbrella, like it or not.
Yes, it does.
If you look at the definition of paranormal, it essentially, the paranormal defines anything that is strange, ambiguous, unanswerable, and I'm sorry, but, those alien UFO experts out there just have to accept the fact that their field falls beneath the paranormal umbrella. And I know that's a very controversial statement from a person like me, but what got me interested in the paranormal was, just growing up in a heavy Catholic background, I knew about, exorcisms and possessions, and, I knew about all the, the various archangels and the various demons from hell, and I knew about all this growing up, and I've always had stories in my family about people who, practice witchcraft or neighbors that knew neighbors who practiced the dark arts and things like that. So it was something that fascinated me, and I've always had my own experiences growing up as a kid. Even now as an adult, Dave, I think I was just telling you the other day, my son was playing Xbox late at night, and I was right there programming, and my friend Rick Prestel, he's from MUFON here in Sacramento. MUFON is the Mutual UFO Network. He owns a restaurant downtown Sacramento, and I guess there was this business that was clearing out, and they had a cardboard box out front, and it said items for free. And inside the box, he grabbed this goth-looking doll called Bleeding Edge something. And it's made by a company called Bleeding Edge, and it's a really cool-looking little goth doll, this little chick. Turns out the doll's worth over $100 on eBay right now. And
nice.
Anyway, he gave it to me to give to my daughter, but she's only 8, and it's a little bit kind of risque looking. It's a little bit for older kids, I think. So I'm just hanging on to it, and I have it on my desk. The other night, I'm programming on the ghost box that I'm writing right now, this ghost box. And all of a sudden, that doll just falls over on its own, but it's on a base, which doesn't make sense. And I looked over to my son, and he's playing his game, and he looked directly at me because he knew something was up. But he goes, what? And I'm like, the doll just tipped over. And I'm like, and I didn't do anything. So the reason why I bring that up is because the same guy that gave me the doll, Rick, has been really concerned for me since I've been working on these apps and have had them in a usable state, because for months these apps weren't usable. They wouldn't even turn on because I was working on the code, getting them to that point. And it wasn't until 2 months ago when I was first able to flip the switch on each of those apps and say, yes, that one works, yes, that one works, and so forth. Well, ever since I've been doing that, Rick's biggest concern has been that, dude, you are inviting unwanted entities into your home.
Niki knows all about that.
Yeah, I got a whole slew of them, I think, here, and they like me.
So I've just now started experiencing strange activity here in my house, and like I was telling Dave, I truly believe that I'm going to need a cleansing at some point, to get these unwanted entities out of my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was telling you on the phone, too, Anthony. After I use anything in the house, if I'm experimenting, I use prayers that my friend Cindy Femforce, who's in the chat room with us, she gave me, I clear my house every time I use them. And it seems to work. I haven't had any weird stuff going on. So, And I know a couple of times when me and you used the app on Skype, if you remember the first time we were working it together, and I was getting these weird thumps and bangs on my walls. And it was kind of freaky.
And I remember when Noreen and I started doing live EVP sessions over Skype, just like what we did, and we started hearing demonic growls. And then on the spectrograph, which is the audio, which is the image that is generated by the audio in the EVP analyzer, we started seeing faces appear, like demonic faces. So for those of us that are listening to the show, if you go to ghosthunteraapps.com, just click on the About GHA or the apps, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, you showed me that. You guys in the chat and the listeners need to go check that out because it's really freaky looking. Go to ghosthunteraapps.com, check out his website, and please, if you have not done so, I highly recommend these apps. If you're a paranormal investigator, go out there and to his site and download them and buy them. They're awesome, and they're very reasonably priced compared to a lot of the other apps out there, and they're so much more in depth that you will be surprised. Anthony's put a lot of work and research into this, and It's very innovative, and I think it's going to be the next go-to app for everyone in the paranormal. You know, we just need to get it out there and let people start using it and see what it's all about, because it's pretty freaking awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people want to see videos of the apps before they buy them. So I just posted a link in the chat room to the videos, to the channel. Everybody, please subscribe to the video, to my YouTube channel, which I just posted in the chat room, and take a look at those videos. And to what Dave was saying about them being reasonably priced, I'm writing a ghost box right now, which is just like a Frank's box, a mini box, a Jim's box, a Joe's box. My ghost box is based on the same principles. Most people said, "Oh, well, it's software. How good can software, be for ITC research, with regards to physical equipment?" And my answer is better. It can be better because of the computing power behind, a handheld device or a laptop. It's just exponentially more powerful than a simple transistor, based device. And I'm not saying that a physical box like a Frank's box or a mini box is not effective, because I wish I owned a Frank's box. Number one, I'm so sorry about the passing of Frank Sumption. I know so much about Frank. He was one of my inspirations. He was one of my heroes. I have a friend who lost a Frank's box by theft, to another person. Mm-hmm. And just in these past few weeks, this person was working with me to try to find the person who bought it on eBay so that he could buy the box back from them, because it belonged to him. And he even was going to offer that person more money than they paid for it, mm-hmm. just so that he could get it back, because it was a custom-built box by Frank for this person. And then that's
what Frank did for the guy that built the Frank box. He built it.
Every single one of them were custom. Mm-hmm. They were all, and they were never mass produced. So
they were not
really
supposed to be sold once he one. You were supposed to keep it.
And it was very, very disheartening to learn that just 2 days ago Frank passed. I saw Steve Huff's beautiful write-up at HuffParaNormal.com, and I went ahead and posted that along with my own small message at GhostHunterApps.com on the homepage. And one of the things that most people do not know about Frank is that in the very beginning, way back in the beginning, when he first started investigating the possibility of creating his own device, one of the first tools that he looked at and drew inspiration from was software. Yeah. There was an ITC researcher in Germany who wrote a program, mm-hmm. a software program for Windows, not the iPhone, not the Android, but for Windows, called EVP Maker. What he did is exactly what I do. He took thousands of micro audio files, phonetic-based segmented microphonetic audio generated files. I'm talking about tens of thousands of them, guys. And what he did is he created the basic raw material for EVPs. And he used that to create his own white noise and essentially phonetic patterns that would result in words and phrases that would allow spirits to do what? To communicate with us. And that was software. And if you don't believe me, look up Frank's history, look up the origins of Frank's own inspiration, and it was software that first interested Frank. So what I'm doing is, now we're talking 20 years later, I'm now picking up the mantle and saying, you know what, we can make a successful ghost box, a spirit box, using a 100% software solution that still uses radio frequencies and detects electromagnetic interference and radio frequency interference, using Bluetooth technology, using all these great brand new technologies. I want to take the paranormal community to the next level.
Yeah, I think you are well on your way to doing that, Anthony. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what me and Niki experienced at the Willow's Weep House and the responses we got. I've still been studying on the results and stuff from the investigation, and it's pretty crazy. The responses we were getting. Now, we didn't have the updated version where we could click on the words we were getting, so I'm going back over the saved files now that you added the last piece of that together, and it's just awesome because, you get the word in a different language, you click on it, and you automatically got the definition of it. That is so awesome. That little part of that application is so freaking awesome. You get a word in a language, you click on it, and it tells you the meaning of it. And then you can tell if it's relevant to what questions you're asking or whatever you happen to be doing during your investigation at that time. So that's
one more thing that we're adding, Dave, is on that list right now where you can right-click the word and go to Wikipedia or Google Translate. Right. Somebody asked me, can you just send the word to Google's search engine? Because I want to see what Google is going to pull up. So we're adding that this week.
Happen where you take and you look the word up in the Google Translate and you look it up in Wikipedia, and it's kind of clueless. And I think that I might have an entity here that is not that great at spelling or something, or getting the words across properly, because I've actually looked it up using Google, which I just copied and pasted it from like the Wikipedia or the Google link that comes up, But I looked it up and I was actually getting stuff that was relevant to what I was talking about, like asking and stuff. So that's awesome. I'll be looking forward to that, Kate. That'll be cool.
It was so funny because I want to go back to Dave's original question, which is, Anthony, what inspired you to do this? Well, people like Frank Sumption, people like David Weatherly, people like Bill Murphy, and people like yourselves, Niki and Dave. I mean, people that are genuinely passionate about the paranormal, that's what inspires me. Another thing that inspires me are idiots. Let me explain.
Amen.
There's a guy out there, and this is America. This is the country where we can say what the hell we want about anybody else, and and if this person wants to bring it, let him bring it. This guy, Jack Jones from Spud Pickles, who wrote this ridiculous Ghost Radar app, which has probably netted him hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars through the various downloads over the last how many years. He really gave the paranormal community a black eye. And let me tell you why. Because in the very beginning, the Ghost Radar app was very innovative, and everybody was excited about it, and it was something that was very, very fun to use. But, there were a lot of skeptics who were like, radar, really? And it was like, well, there were people like me with a software engineering background that said, it could be possible if the sensor technology on the Android device or the iPhone is sophisticated enough to, use like geo-targeting and detect electromagnetic fluctuations. The problem is that somebody took the source code from Spud Pickles, they decompiled it, which means they reverse engineered it, and they saw that the guy is a liar. He's a fake. Right. And his app, you got, what's really sad is that you have national television shows, paranormal shows, that were using his app. Dave, you and I both know a guy who bought a haunted house, and he used that app like crazy in his haunted house. And it really sickens me that this guy got away with that. And he liked to drop the term, I forget what the term is. He tried to, but it's really sad because he was building upon science and technology when in fact there was nothing there to support what he was doing, and then it turns out he was a liar. And I would like for him to try and challenge me because my apps use real science, real technology. Oh, the term is quantum flux. Do you guys remember the movie Back to the Future and the guy and they had the flux capacitor and the DeLorean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, listen. Quantum fluctuation is a real scientific term, which was coined by Einstein. And Einstein talked about, fluctuations at the quantum level. And when we're discussing radio frequency interference and electromagnetic interference, that really does have to do with quantum fluctuations. But this guy just pulled that out of his hat and decided to slap it onto a label so that he could sell a bunch of ghost radars. So I get a lot of flack from people that say, "Really, Anthony, you wrote a ghost radar?" And then I tell them, "Absolutely, I wrote a ghost radar." And I direct them to my website, and I remind them that I have 20-plus years as a senior-level software engineer working in Silicon Valley and for the state and federal governments, developing various levels of scientific and business infrastructure applications, in software. So I do two things, and I make it real simple. People say, okay, how do the apps work? I have two methods. I use instrumentation monitoring or hardware monitoring, and the second is radio frequency scanning. That is all I need to turn your laptop into an EMF detector, just like a K2 meter. Believe that.
Oh, I believe it. I've seen it work.
Me too.
That's all I need.
Cool.
So, I want people out there to understand that you now have more options. I know that the majority of the people in the chat room tonight own laptops. They own PCs. I want them to know that laptop that's been sitting on the table gathering dust that they probably only use to pay bills is extremely powerful when it comes to the paranormal. They can turn that laptop into a useful utility for the paranormal team or their own, if they're an individual, investigator, with the apps that, look, if you tried to buy a ghost box, even if it's not a Frank's box, if it's some other spirit box that's out there, at a very minimum, you're talking about hundreds of dollars and now into the thousands of dollars for a ghost box. I'm using the same exact technology to perform radio frequency scanning, white noise algorithms. These are generators of white noise, pink noise, and brown noise. And I'm only charging $20 for mine. Whereas, these others are going to, really put your paranormal team in a financial hole. It's going to cost a lot of money.
But it's not just that, Anthony. Your apps have so many other features. You can record everything. It keeps a chronological record of everything you get. It's just freaking awesome. It's like you have a command center when you take your apps, with you ghost hunting. And I don't like to use the word ghost hunting. When you do a paranormal investigation, you have a mini command center right there that you can flip open the top and you're ready to rock and roll, with these apps that you've created. And it's awesome. And tell them how the Bluetooth, without giving away your secret, tell them the basics of the Bluetooth, what that allows you to have using your laptop.
So I went to Amazon.com, and I bought a Daffodil Bluetooth adapter for $5.99 and free shipping. And what that little adapter did for my laptop was gave me the power of Bluetooth. Bluetooth lets my PC scan radio frequencies. So Bluetooth scans the ISM UHF band, which is from 2.4 gigahertz to 2.58 gigahertz. Now, these are the same exact radio frequencies that, you find in the AM and FM modulations, except because these are at a much, much different end of the scale, there's no radio stations on these. These are reserved for, near-field communications, for, peer-to-peer networking, so, for private networks, like Wi-Fi networking. So, when you walk into a Starbucks and immediately your laptop recognizes that it's connected to a Wi-Fi network. That's exactly what Bluetooth does.
Yep.
So they're the same exact type of radio frequencies that a radio station would have. What we do is we scan every frequency between 2.402 to 2.485. Now, 3 of those are reserved, so we only have 79 frequencies, I believe. But we look at those frequencies every 500 milliseconds. So every half a second, we're scanning a frequency and we're looking for something. What is that something that we're looking for? Well, we're looking at something called a sine wave. So our software programmatically plots a sine wave, which looks like the letter S turned counterclockwise 90 degrees to its left. So it looks like a little an S turned sideways, and that's called a sine wave.
Right.
When it looks like a perfectly formed S, for that specific frequency, we know that nothing's affecting it. We know that, okay, that frequency came through just fine. But when we scan, and we see one that looks like a lightning bolt or looks weird, we know that something is affecting that frequency. And what causes radio disruption? Well, it's called RFI, radio frequency interruption, which is the same exact thing as electromagnetic interference.
Yep.
So essentially, using Bluetooth technology, I believe GhostHunterApps.com is the first company to utilize radio frequency scanning to detect EMF, like a K2 meter, to detect electromagnetic fluctuation. And as a matter of fact, when we hold magnets close to the laptop or the Bluetooth adapter, we see radio disruption. We see electromagnetic disruptions. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing is at GhostHunterApps.com in about 3 months from now, I want to say about Christmas time, maybe Thanksgiving, we're going to start selling something called Organite. Organite is resin which encapsulates crystals. And these crystals and various magnets and various types of stones use something called the piezoelectric effect, which it causes energy to be discharged, due to the compression. Well, if you look at Steve Huff at Huff Paranormal and a lot of other paranormal experts, what do they do typically to a lot of their spirit boxes or their ghost boxes? They attach crystals to them. Well, I'm an expert when it comes to Organite technology, which was developed by Wilhelm Reich, and that's a whole other show on its own. But look forward to the write-up that I'm going to be posting pretty soon at GhostHunterApps.com about Organite, because these are sophisticated little cubes and little pyramids and various shapes that are going to utilize the piezoelectric effect with crystal and magnetic technology using pure silver, pure gold, and pure copper wiring structures and various other, minerals and elements, natural earth elements to help enhance the power of your laptop and your apps to attract and facilitate greater levels of spiritual activity.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Well,
Definitely.
a lot of us have been talking in the paranormal field about, we're kind of stuck right now, and we're trying to push to the next level, because everybody's doing the same thing. And I think technology is definitely the way that we need to go to maybe push us all to the next level. And, this could be the ground level of that. You know what I'm saying? In my view, anyway. And I think you're on, you're onto something really cool here, and I'm happy to be a part of it. And like I said before, I'm glad you had me involved in the ground level of it. Now you're coming out with another app here. You're coming out with another app, right? As well. It's so. I'm coming out with a lot of apps. Right now, my heart is broken over Frank, the loss of Frank, and it's so funny, Dave, because. Yesterday, I don't know if people noticed, but I took down everything from my homepage with regards to the ghost box and that I'm developing, because I felt it was disrespectful. And most people that didn't know about GhostHunterApps.com, if they were to come and they were to see that I'm selling the ghost box, I didn't want them thinking, oh, he's trying to write off the death of Frank and various other guys who are, spirit box and ghost box innovators who passed away within the past year and a half to 2 years. That's not the case. I mean, Dave, you and Noreen and Bill Murphy from the Sci-Fi Network, a whole bunch of people can attest to the fact
that I've been developing this ghost box for a while now. And I've been, it's just terrible timing that Frank died right when I started pushing my own ghost box through Twitter. A lot of people were, just a couple of weeks back, were looking at my ghost box on Twitter, some of the videos that I was posting on YouTube. And, that's one of the apps that I'm doing right now. It's called the GB1. It's the Ghost Box 1.0. And essentially it's utilizing algorithms that produce white noise, that are derived from the radio frequencies. It creates thousands of random carrier sounds, microphonetic audio files, and which are the raw material for EVPs or recordings, EVP recordings. And it's an awesome little device, and that's one of the apps I'm developing right now. And again, I'm not trying to push the ghost box at a time when we lost one of the innovators. As a matter of fact, the inventor of the spirit box.
I think that's so awesome that you actually did that. A lot of people wouldn't have gave that a second thought, and I just.
They would have said, let's market off of it. Look, I've got the only one you can get now, because that's just the way that this field is. And it's refreshing to have someone who is, more human than that. And we all respect that. And thank you for that.
Yeah. So it wasn't until this morning where several people said to me, hey, Anthony, you've been working on this for so long, you got to share your work with people. Just because Frank is gone does not mean that the rest of us in the paranormal field should not continue on in Frank's spirit and continue to innovate, to, create for one another and to help one another in this field and try to produce the best possible tools that we can utilize on paranormal investigations. I think Frank and Joe and all those other innovators of spirit boxes would have wanted us to continue on and strive for a better set of tools for the paranormal.
Right, I agree.
A couple other apps that I'm working on are, I have a demonology app that I'm working on that's kind of controversial already, even though it's in early development. It's to help cleanse and to help perform exorcisms. And again, I'm trying to work with various psychics and demonologists who can put me in the right direction. I have a lot of requests for this app, but I get a lot of feedback when I mention the demonology app. They're like, oh, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't write a demonology app for just every willy-nilly, paranormal team. And I tell people, I'm not. I'm writing the demonology app for demonologists. That's who I envision purchasing this app and utilizing it. And again, it is a very controversial app. Another app that I'm working on is a Ouija board. Some of you on the beta team have seen the original concept Ouija board that I put out there. And I do have a working prototype, but it's not ready for beta. And, a lot of people are excited about that app. And the third app that I'm working on, which still has not been released, is the Ghost Cam. I have been working on utilizing external sensors as a means to help capture ghostly activity on film and on video. Do you guys remember The Conjuring?
I can't wait to see that one.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You guys remember The Conjuring when they're setting up their cameras and they have temperature sensors that detect temperature shifts. So, like if there's a cold spot that automatically emanates in the middle of a room, the flash camera would immediately take a photograph. Well, I'm doing the same thing with webcams, and I actually have a USB temperature sensor that only costs about $15 that you could buy from Amazon, and it has like a 6-foot long cord, so you can mount it on a little mini tripod and set it up anywhere in the room. And the minute the software detects that the temperature in the room has risen or fallen by, a plus or minus, 4 to 5 degrees differential, it will take a picture with the webcam in night vision mode, and will actually take a 3 to 5 second video of that instant to see if it captures any orbs, any shadow people. So that's coming. That's coming very soon.
Yeah, that's going to be sweet,
That is
man.
awesome.
And that's great because that's, like I said, I mean, if you have all these apps in your toolbox, I mean, it's just more great stuff to add to your paranormal toolbox, you know. And, you know, people can say what they want, and there's always going to be naysayers. But until you actually try it, you know, don't knock it. Cindy knows, you know, she was one that turned me on to the Echo Box, and I was one of the ones that, you know, I saw the original Ghost Radar, and I was like, man, that's just garbage, and that totally turned me off to apps on cell phones and laptops and all that.
Yeah.
You know, she started getting some really good results, so now we use it quite often, you know. I mean, and we get good results.
You know, most people don't know this about me, but one of my big inspirations is Danny from Big Beard Studios. I love the Echo Box, and I have it on my Android. So a lot of people are not aware of the fact that way back in the early days, who was the first person to introduce the Echo Chamber to the spirit boxes? That was Frank Sumption. Frank Sumption was the first one that introduced phaser and Echo Chamber to the spirit box. And Danny, who's an awesome developer, took it to the next level and put it on Android, and he's an innovator, and he's one of those people that truly inspires me. I'm on a different platform. I'm on Windows laptops, Windows PCs. I'm on Windows.
You're the first one really to create anything. I mean anything like for Windows.
Yeah,
so,
there's a couple of apps out there for Windows that
but they
really
don't
pretty
touch
much.
Yours, dude.
Well, I mean, I installed one of them, and it loaded a virus onto my machine, and I was really concerned about that. And I said, this is not fair to the 500 million Windows 7 users and the 200 million Windows 8 users and 8.1 users. You know, that their only options are this one app that is pretty much just a form to fill out when you're on investigations, and the other one is a bunch of gibberish on a screen that means nothing and has no scientific or technological background to support it. There's no substance behind it. Mine, I'm ready to debate. I'm ready to be challenged and talk to anyone who thinks that I'm a fake, because I'm not a fake. And I have algorithms and 20-plus years of development to prove what I'm talking about. Look, Danny is doing something innovative, Danny from Big Beard Studios, and I applaud him. Jack Jones from Spud Pickles is a joke, and he gave a black eye to developers, of the paranormal, and it's time to retake, re-grasp that integrity that was stolen from us. And I want to be a part of that, movement in the paranormal.
I think, like I said, you're there, man. You're on the ground floor of the next level, I believe. So just keep up the good work, man.
Yeah. And if anybody out there knows Danny personally, tell him that I'm a big fan of his.
Oh, I actually know him pretty well. I've had him on my show twice.
Oh, that's cool.
And,
yeah, he's been on Niki's show before I joined Niki, and Cindy knows him. She talks to him quite often, and we love. Who cares what we're using as long as we're getting intelligent stuff on our investigations. That's what we got to use. We got to go to the next level, and that's my view on it.
Mhm.
And
I want to remind everybody that's out there listening to the show tonight. Please go to GhostHunterApps.com. At the very top of the page, all the way to the right, there's a link that says downloads. If you want to know what we're talking about, there's a 10-day trial for every single app that we have. Download them. All we want from you is your email, your name, and if you're part of a paranormal team or if you're an individual investigator, all you have to do is choose the app. Like if it's the Q3 meter or the EVP analyzer, the Spirit Box or the Spirit Radar, and soon the Ghost Box, the GB1, will be added to that list. Download the apps, try them for yourself, let us know what you think. And remember, this is for the Windows platform, so you got to have a laptop or a PC. You guys, did you know that there are now mini PCs that can fit in the palm of your hand? They're so small they can fit in the palm of your hand, and they have quad-core processors, 16 gigs of RAM, and all you need to do is take that out, set it up on a kitchen table at somebody's house, and put a little monitor on it, and you're good to go. You are good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
I mean,
I have a question about one of the apps, actually.
Yeah.
Who's better to talk to than the man? Okay. I've been asking Dave, and, we're kind of like, I don't know. Let's ask him. The Q3. Mm-hmm. When I run that, shouldn't I be able to hear what sounds like voices? Or am I crazy?
No, you should be hearing white noise, like
I told you.
What if it talks to you?
I told you.
I have already had a person that told me that they're hearing what sounds like voices inside of the white noise. And when they do hear the voices, they're getting a lot of activity from the light indicators. So, yeah, that's the whole purpose of it. The whole purpose is to, like with the K2 meter, by the way, people ask me, what does the Q stand for? It stands for quantum. Because this, again, is a real tool, a real ITC device that does use the scientific principles of quantum fluctuation, because we're working with electromagnetic interference. When the scanning algorithms detect disruptions in EMF, that's when something is trying to come through. That's when something is trying to communicate, and when you see the lights will respond. The lights responding. If you hear what sounds like voices, that means that the white noise algorithm is generating sounds that are based off of the disruptions.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Because I thought I was going crazy. Dave called me. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, dude, I hear like full sentences. It's just I can't make them out. And I'm like, but I can hear them. There's definite words I can pull out, and I just thought I was going batty.
Yeah, when we create white noise, when we use, like for instance, in the Ghost Box, when we create white noise, we have 2 methods of doing that. And I do it exactly the same way that Danny does it. If you read the descriptions at Big Bird Studios and the apps that he has, he outright tells you that he's using essentially segmented carrier sounds or audio that's generated through a programmatic method. And that's exactly what Frank was doing. That's what Frank was researching when he first started to make the Frank's box back in the early days. He turned to that German company that made the software called EVP Maker. If you go out and you Google EVP Maker, the number one method and the most effective method is to segment tens of thousands of audio files into unrecognizable sounds, and then allow an algorithm to process not necessarily randomization, but trigger mechanisms that are based off of like EMF disruption to then produce what we hear. That could be, which essentially could be voices or phrases or words that are coming from the other side. It all goes back to the very beginning with Frank Sumption, the people in Germany who made EVP Maker, and now to people like myself and Danny who are essentially utilizing those same methods but taking them to the next level, because remember, the technology is so much more sophisticated now than it was 20 years ago. Now, Frank wasn't making his boxes until 2002, but it was back in 1995 when he first started researching EVP phenomena, voice phenomena. So, electronic voice phenomena, excuse me.
Definitely.
So that's that on that. Yeah.
Awesome.
I do want to mention one more thing, guys. When I take segmented microphonetic audio files that are programmatically generated, I do not stop there. I do not stop there. I actually take if it's 10,000 files, I actually have a method to utilize an API and pump them through a software called Pro Tools, which is this very fancy audio production software, kind of like Audacity but on steroids. And I then take those files and then I re-record them at 432 hertz, which is the sound of the Earth. The Earth generates a frequency at 432 hertz. See, because originally those sounds are recorded at 440 hertz, which is, there's a very controversial background behind that. Believe it or not, it has to do with the Nazis. But I don't use the 440 hertz frequency. I use the 432 hertz frequency, which is the sound, the frequency that is generated by the Earth. And believe it or not, a lot of paranormal researchers and experts believe that that white noise, pink noise, and brown noise that is generated at a 432 hertz frequency is much more better at facilitating spiritual activity.
Awesome. I just exited the chat, I believe. I do apologize. Evidently, I broke my computer.
You broke your computer again?
I broke the one that wasn't broken yet. Awesome sauce.
Oh,
yeah, it's a lovely day in the neighborhood. No, but these apps, I had a friend who I was talking to about it, and they said, well, how come I can't put it on my phone? And I said, because it's so much more than your phone can handle. I think it's just the information. I mean, gosh, there's all the apps. I tried to put them all up on my screen at the same time, and I'm just trying to, take it all in. Yeah, I can't do that because I have ADD, so I can only handle about 2 at a time. But, I mean, it's like everything all in one. I don't have to carry around my K2 and then my recorders and this, that, and the other, because I feel like I need, I don't know, like a vest with lots of pockets or that thing you hang your shoes on behind the door when I go investigate. Be able to have all my equipment handy. I've got it all right in one thing, It's fantastic. And I can't get over it. It's condensed. Everything I need is condensed into my computer. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I tell people too that there are so many wonderful options on your phone if you have an Android or an iPhone. The reason why I wrote these for Windows is because there were 0 options, and there are so many millions of paranormal teams, paranormal investigators who have laptops, who have PCs, who have mini PCs, who have Surface RTs, who have tablet PCs, who have tablets, all which run Windows, and they have, up until now, they had 0 options to develop anything, to use anything for the paranormal. And now they do.
That's awesome.
Okay,
Niki, there's a question in the chat. This might pertain to something since you work in the brain field. Did you see that from Ginger?
I can't see a chat right now. I have no computer. I'm only connected to Blog Talk on the other one right now.
I'll tell you what it says. It says, over several years I have had a constant ringing in my ears, and at times I will hear like someone carry on a conversation, music. Even today I hear a male voice, and it was just me and the cat and nothing in the place.
Can I answer that question?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Go ahead.
Ginger, in my book, UFO Highway, I actually wrote about a phenomena called transient digital audio phenomena, TDAP. I was the first person to write about this. Most people are not aware of the fact that they live near base transceiver systems, which are also known as cell phone towers. The federal government, has a facility in Gakona, Alaska, which is called HARP, where they developed the HARP technology. And utilizing various, facets of HARP technology, they can essentially use a base transceiver system to tap into your mind and send messages to you. It's actually a real thing. You're not schizophrenic. You're not crazy. If you double check and see how close you are to a base transceiver system, a cell phone tower, because if you're really close, you might be hearing things. And guess what? I have interviewed entire families, where various members of the families of a particular family will hear things, and they'll hear the same exact thing at the same exact time. And what is that telling you? That they're picking up some type of a frequency range. Well, guess what? The human brain works off of a specific set of frequencies. Every human has a unique frequency, it's kind of like a fingerprint, that their own brain operates on. But all humans fall within a very close specific range. Now, remember earlier I was mentioning organite, the little crystals that I'm going to be developing for the paranormal?
Oh, yeah.
Well, back in the 1930s and the 1940s, there was a very famous guy who used to work with a good friend of his named Albert Einstein. His name was Wilhelm Reich. Wilhelm Reich developed technologies for the United States federal government. And when he realized that the technology that he was developing was so that the government could control your behavioral patterns and your emotions through these radio frequencies, he realized what he had done was wrong. So he started to create this technology called orgone. And orgone, which is ultimately which resulted in the modern-day orgonite, which essentially can block those negative frequencies. And there's a whole science behind that. However, there's a lot involved with that, and I mean there's even a top secret project called Project Bluebeam, and Bluebeam was supposed to use that HARP technology, base transceiver technology, to essentially do like a false flag event, to make us believe that we're seeing spaceships in the sky or the second coming of Jesus, and there's these crazy conspiracies out there, but they're all based on real facts.
Yeah, we could talk about that for months. I mean, literally.
Yeah.
It made a lot of sense to me because I have a cell phone tower right here, and thank you, because that was way better than my medical jargon. So I thank you for that. But unfortunately, we are at the end of the show. So let's tell everyone where they can access your apps they can go to. Go ahead and tell them, and then we'll have to go.
You can get my apps at ghosthunterapps.com. They're very affordable, and they're highly effective for paranormal teams. Please go to ghosthunterapps.com, and please take a look at my book at ufohighway.com. Go to www.ufohighway.com and buy my book.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yes.
Out, guys.
Yes, and you can find all that.
Check out his Facebook, too.
Links to my website. Yep, check out his Facebook. I've got links to that, I believe, on my website as well, which is NikiParaNormal.com. But thank you so much for coming on, and thank you for allowing us to utilize your apps, and they're just fantastic.
We'll have to get him on again, Nikki, because we could do at least another show or two.
We totally have to. Yes, and everyone tune in tomorrow night for Noreen's show, which is featuring the two guys that I'm on the phone with that I have the privilege of speaking with tonight. So head on.
We're on Noreen's show tomorrow night. We're going to be utilizing the new app on her Do You Believe on YouTube, Paranormal Zone TV on YouTube. Everyone stop in at, what is it, Anthony, 9 o'clock Eastern Time?
Same
6 o'clock
time.
your time?
Yep.
We'll be on there live tomorrow, guys, so stop in and check us out.
Yep, and thank you so much for listening, everyone, and thank you, Anthony. And tune in next week and check out our show. Good night. Bye.
See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.